There is a truth that most of us feel, yet rarely stop to face. Amid the fast pace of modern life, peace seems like a luxury. People chase after success, fame, love, and material wealth, but the more they strive to achieve, the wider the emptiness inside becomes. We live under the bright lights of the city, yet within, we sink into a silent night of anxiety, fear, and exhaustion. In this context, Buddhism, with over 2,000 years of wisdom, is not just a religion, but a path of practice to return to oneself, to the peace that has never truly been lost. Welcome to Buddha's Wisdom Journey, where the ancient teachings of the Buddha are retold in the language of modern life. This channel is not about beliefs or rituals, but about the art of mindful living, about how to look back at our own minds amid the many changes of the world. And in today's video, with the topic, How Buddhism Can Help You Find Inner Peace, we will explore together how Buddhist teachings can help us rediscover tranquility in this uncertain life. If you live in the West, where everything moves quickly, where success is measured by productivity and efficiency, perhaps you felt that peace is hard to grasp. You might be sitting in a comfortable apartment, with a good job and a stable relationship, yet deep inside there remains an unnamable emptiness. Buddhism does not promise to erase these troubles, but helps us see them through different eyes, the eyes of wisdom, acceptance, and deep understanding of the nature of life. The peace that Buddhism speaks of is not about escaping from the world, nor is it a fleeting feeling that arises when we meditate or listen to relaxing music. That peace is a state of mind, when we are no longer swept away by the waves of thoughts and emotions. It is the ability to see everything as it is, without being drowned in it. The Buddha once said, "A calm mind is where this world is most clearly understood." That saying is not only for those who live in the forests, but for all of us, those who are seeking to live more fully amid the busyness of life. In Buddhist teachings, every form of restlessness stems from something very simple, attachment. We cling to control, to the things we love, and fear losing them. But life, by its impermanent nature, never stops to satisfy anyone's desires. When we cannot accept that, suffering arises. Therefore, peace does not lie in gaining more, but in letting go. Buddhism does not demand that we abandon life, nor does it ask us to enter a monastery or withdraw from the world. On the contrary, the Buddha taught that the path to enlightenment begins right within this very life, in every action, every breath, every relationship. When we work with mindfulness, speak with kindness, and look at others with understanding, that is when we are already practicing peace. In the West, many people come to meditation as a method to heal the mind. But if we stop at technique, we will never touch the depth of serenity that Buddhism points to. For meditation, in its truest meaning, is not to calm the mind, but to see the mind. When we see the workings of our thoughts, when we recognize that anger, sadness, or fear are just clouds drifting across the sky of consciousness, in that moment, we begin to enter true peace. This path does not require blind faith, but direct experience. Buddhism always emphasizes, "Do not believe my words just because I say them, observe for yourself." And when we pause to observe our own minds, without judgment, without avoidance, we realize that peace does not come from the outside. It is something we carry within every breath, every heartbeat. Buddha's wisdom journey was created to remind us that the path to awakening is not somewhere far away, but in every moment of the present. On the journey to rediscover inner peace, you don't need to become a Buddhist. You only need to become awake, to know how to stop, to listen, and to let go. For only when the mind is still, does the world become clear. And that is precisely the spirit of today's theme, how Buddhism can help you find inner peace, not as an abstract doctrine, but as an art of living in the everyday world with a tranquil heart. In the next parts, we will go deeper into how Buddhism helps us face suffering, overcome anxiety, and find the stillness that each of us is searching for. Peace, in the Buddhist view, is not a gift granted from the outside, but the result of deep understanding of one's own nature. Every restlessness, every anxiety we experience arises from ignorance, not understanding the mind, not understanding life, and not understanding impermanence. When we begin to see this truth, a miraculous transformation happens. Instead of trying to change the world in order to feel peaceful, we learn to change the way we see the world. In modern life, people in the West often seek ways to reduce stress, such as mindfulness meditation, yoga, or psychotherapy. Yet the root of peace lies not merely in relaxation, but in understanding the cause of suffering. The Buddha pointed out in the Four Noble Truths, suffering is an inevitable part of life, its cause is attachment and ignorance, the cessation of suffering is possible if we understand and let go. And the path to that liberation is the Noble Eightfold Path. It may sound philosophical, but when we apply it to daily life, these teachings become more alive than ever. Amid work pressures, worries about the future, and demanding relationships, we are often swept up in endless streams of thought. The mind is always in the mode of doing something to solve or control everything. Yet Buddhism teaches that this very effort is the source of unease. When we sit quietly and simply observe thoughts coming and going without interference, we begin to realize that the mind itself creates the turbulence, while reality remains still. Peace does not arise when we silence all thoughts, but when we are no longer controlled by them. In meditation practice, the practitioner is guided to be aware without judgment. For example, when anger arises, instead of suppressing or blaming, we simply acknowledge, this is anger. The emotion is seen, understood, and then it naturally fades like smoke. This process of awareness helps us live mindfully, bringing calm to the mind without having to do anything more. Buddhism calls this wisdom born from mindfulness, the ability to see clearly without clinging. Many people believe that to find peace, one must go somewhere far away, to a temple, a monastery, or a quiet retreat in the mountains. But true peace does not depend on location, it depends on whether the mind is calm. The Buddha once said, even in the marketplace, one who keeps the mind at peace is in meditation. We can be sitting in a small room amid the noisy city, but if we return to our breath and observe our own mind, in that very moment, peace is already present. Buddhism also teaches that peace cannot be separated from compassion. When we live only for ourselves, when every thought revolves around me and mine, suffering becomes inevitable. But when we open our hearts, seeing the pain of others and understanding that everyone is struggling just as we are, our hearts begin to soften. Compassion is not merely about pity, it is a way to free ourselves from the narrow prison of selfishness. When the heart expands, personal problems become lighter, and in that spaciousness, peace begins to bloom. One reason many Westerners turn to Buddhism is that they realize material happiness is never enough. Even with a beautiful house, a luxury car, and a full bank account, they may still feel lonely and empty. Buddhism does not condemn wealth, but simply points out that if we place the meaning of life entirely in things that can be lost, suffering is inevitable. When we understand this, we begin to turn inward, seeking a deeper value, one that cannot be stolen by time or change. True peace begins when we stop searching. In the scriptures, the Buddha once said, "The wise do not chase after the past, nor cling to the future, they dwell peacefully in the present moment." This teaching seems simple, yet it is the key to liberation. We often live in memories or worries, rarely fully present in the now. When we learn to return to the here and now, the mind stops creating illusions, and in that very instant, peace returns, like an old friend who has been waiting for us all along. Buddhism is not just a philosophy but a living practice. From mindfulness in each step and breath, to deep listening and gentle speech, all are ways to return to peace. When we learn to slow down, to see beauty in simplicity, and to feel gratitude for what is, we begin to realize that peace is not something distant. It is right here, in the way we pour a cup of tea, in the soft smile of forgiveness, or in the moment we release a long-held resentment. Thus, Buddhism is not separate from life, it is the art of living within life itself. It is a path that doesn't ask us to become someone else, but invites us to return to our true selves, a being who is awake, loving, understanding, and accepting. When we walk this path, every step becomes meditation, every breath becomes a bridge connecting us to the timeless stillness within. Peace does not come from avoiding suffering, but from understanding it. When we see that fear, anxiety, and pain are just waves on the ocean of consciousness, we no longer struggle to drive them away. We simply stand still, allowing them to pass. And in that stillness, we realize, peace has never left us, we only forgot how to see it as humanity dives deeper into the modern world. Where speed is seen as the measure of value, peace becomes the rarest thing of all. We can move faster, accomplish more, and connect with thousands through social media, yet we lose connection with ourselves. In a world where everyone is always busy, Buddhism reminds us that stopping is not laziness, it is an act of wisdom. Because when we stop, we begin to see. And when we see, understanding begins to grow, understanding ourselves, understanding others, and understanding life itself. Peace cannot be created through effort. You cannot force yourself to be calm. Just like muddy water, the more you stir it, the cloudier it becomes. Only when you let it settle does it become clear. The human mind is the same. The Buddha did not teach us to create peace, but to remove what obscures it. When we let go of greed, anger, and ignorance, the dust of the mind, peace naturally appears, like the moon revealing itself when the clouds disperse. In meditation, there is a simple yet profoundly deep practice. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. That's all, no philosophy, no analysis. But if we are truly present with each breath, we will feel something miraculous, the mind begins to settle. Because the breath is the bridge between body and mind, between the outer world and the life within. When we return to the breath, we return to ourselves. And from there, peace begins to arise. Buddhism teaches that suffering is the gateway to peace. This may sound paradoxical, but it is one of the deepest truths. When we dare to look directly at suffering, we begin to see that it is not the enemy, but the teacher. Through pain, we learn compassion, through loss, we learn letting go, through loneliness, we learn to come home to ourselves. Without darkness, we would never recognize light. Therefore, in Buddhism, peace is not the absence of suffering, but serenity in the midst of it. A practitioner on the Buddhist path does not try to run away from emotions. When angry, they recognize their anger, when sad, they embrace their sadness with understanding. This awareness doesn't make the emotions disappear instantly, but it removes their power. For understanding is light, and darkness cannot survive in the presence of light. When we learn to sit quietly with our feelings without judgment, we have already begun walking the path of true peace. Peace does not come from eliminating all disturbances, but from the ability to live with them mindfully. The wise are not afraid of change, because they understand that life is a flow. Every emotion, every situation is like a cloud passing through the sky, nothing lasts forever. When we no longer cling, everything becomes lighter. Understanding impermanence allows us to let go of worry. When we see that all things come and go, even the things that unsettle us become teachers rather than burdens. Buddhism also teaches that peace is the result of mindfulness in action. We cannot separate meditation from daily life. When we wash dishes, cook, drive, or work, if our mind is present, we are meditating. For meditation is not just sitting cross-legged with closed eyes, but living fully in each moment. When we work with awareness, speak with understanding, and listen without judgment, that is when peace is being cultivated. Interestingly, the more we search for peace, the less we have it. Because seeking implies lacking. Buddhism teaches that peace is not something to be attained, but the mind's original nature. When the mind is no longer dominated by delusion, it naturally rests. Like the sky that is always clear, only covered by clouds. When we stop trying to chase the clouds away and simply recognize that they are passing, the sky reveals itself on its own. Peace is the same, it does not need to be created. Only recognized. That recognition itself is wisdom, the most essential element in Buddhism. Wisdom is not theoretical knowledge, but direct seeing, free from conditioning. When wisdom arises, we see things as they truly are, no more, no less. And in that seeing, peace becomes inevitable. For when there is no longer I and mine, no longer gain and loss, what is left to fear? What is left to worry? Another profound aspect of peace is compassion for oneself. Many people in the West live under constant tension from perfectionism, always judging themselves. Always feeling not good enough. Buddhism reminds us that mindfulness cannot be separated from kindness. Begin by treating yourself gently. When you can look at yourself with compassion, you can open your heart to others. Peace cannot exist in a heart full of self-hatred. It arises only when we learn to forgive, not just others, but ourselves. One simple yet profound practice is metta, loving-kindness meditation. In it, we send wishes of well-being to ourselves and others. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May all beings be free from suffering. This simple phrase, when practiced regularly, gradually transforms the way we see the world. It expands the boundaries of the self, helping us realize we are not separate from anyone. And in that connection, the heart becomes lighter, life becomes brighter. Peace is no longer a goal, but the natural breath of love. Buddhism also says that understanding and compassion are like the two wings of a bird. Without one, it cannot fly. If we only understand without love, wisdom becomes cold. If we only love without understanding, kindness turns into suffering. But when these two merge, we rise above all worries, soaring into the sky of inner freedom. That freedom is what everyone seeks, though they may call it by other names: happiness, success, balance. But true freedom, according to the Buddha's teaching, comes only when we are no longer ruled by the mind. When we can smile amid change, when we no longer fear loss, when we see that everything is part of the great flow of life, then peace is no longer something to be achieved. It becomes our very way of being. And perhaps the most beautiful realization on this journey is this: peace is not the destination, but the path itself. Every breath, every mindful step, every moment of understanding and compassion, all are seeds of serenity being sown. The Buddha did not promise heaven after death, but offered us the ability to live freely here and now. That is the true miracle of the Dharma, transforming this ever-changing life into a place of stillness, where the mind can rest peacefully in every moment. No matter how the world outside may be, finally, when we look back on the entire journey of seeking peace, we realize one thing: throughout this life, we have never gone anywhere. We have only wandered around, only to return to where we began, within ourselves. The path of Buddhism has never been a journey of escape from life, but a path of return, returning to the breath, to mindfulness, to the ability to see things as they are. It is only when we stop and return that we truly understand the meaning of the two words, peace. Many people think that to find peace, they must leave behind the noise, live in solitude, and meditate for hours each day. But the Buddha never taught that. He simply taught that if we live mindfully in each moment, whether at the market, at work, or amidst laughter and tears, we can still dwell in peace. Peace is not the silence outside, but the stillness within, where the mind is no longer pushed around by greed, anger, or delusion, where it can see life without being disturbed. In Buddhism, that peace is likened to a calm lake. When the mind is still, we see everything clearly reflected. When the mind is Disturbed, the image becomes distorted. All the suffering we carry does not come from the world itself, but from how we perceive it through the waves of our own mind. When we understand this, a profound freedom begins to blossom, freedom from unconscious reactions, from fear, from endless desires that can never be satisfied. And within that freedom, peace appears like an old friend who has never truly left us. Buddhism does not offer a religion to worship, but a path to live mindfully. When we understand impermanence, we no longer cling to what can be lost. When we understand dependent origination, we no longer isolate ourselves from the world. When we understand suffering, we no longer fear it. And when we understand non-self, we no longer place ourselves at the center of everything. From that understanding, the heart becomes light, the mind opens, and peace naturally flows like a stream of sweetness. Try to recall a moment of peace in your life, perhaps when you watched the sunset, or when you sat quietly listening to the rain. In those moments, you were not thinking, not calculating, not desiring. You were simply present. And that full presence itself is meditation, is mindfulness, is peace. The wonderful thing is, you don't have to go anywhere to find it. It has always been there, waiting for you to return. The Buddha once said, "No one can save you but yourself. Walk your own path." Peace is the same. No teacher, no method can give you serenity unless you look within yourself. For peace is not something you learn, but something you become. When your mind is illuminated by understanding and compassion. If there is one message Buddhism wishes to send to the modern world, it is this: stop searching outward, and start listening inward. You don't need to become someone else, nor achieve anything new, just let go. Let go of fear, of expectations, of the desire to control everything. In that letting go, you will feel light. And when the mind is light, peace naturally blooms. When you meditate, when you pause to observe your breath, when you watch a thought pass without clinging to it, that is the moment you are living in peace. Even if it's just for a second, if you truly feel it, you will understand that peace is not something distant, but a natural part of life itself. Every laugh, every tear, every change, all can become meditation if you look with the eyes of mindfulness. The world will never stop changing. Tension, conflict, loss, even suffering, will still come. But Buddhism does not promise that we can avoid them, it only shows us how not to be consumed by them. When you can smile amidst suffering, you have understood what freedom is. When you can love without fear of loss, you have understood compassion. When you can live without needing to prove anything, you have understood peace. Peace, in the end, is not a reward, but the nature of an awakened mind. It does not arise from having everything go your way, but from the ability to accept everything as it is. When you deeply understand this, there is no need to search anymore. Every moment of life can become a sacred place to practice serenity. Try today, just once, turn off your phone, sit quietly, and breathe. Don't try to think, don't try to stop anything. Just breathe and observe. You may be surprised to find that amidst all the chaos, peace is still there, like a river quietly flowing beneath the noisy waves of life. That is what Buddha's wisdom journey always wishes to offer, not distant philosophies, but simple paths to return to yourself. For if you can find peace in your heart, then no matter how turbulent the world may be, you will remain steady, at ease, and smiling. And perhaps the journey to find peace is not about achieving anything, but about realizing that we never lost it. It has always been there, deep within every breath, every heartbeat, every mindful moment. If you have ever felt even a moment of serenity while reading or listening to these reflections, pause for a while and listen to your heart. Peace is not something we talk about, it is something we feel. And if you wish, share your experience in the comments below. Tell us about a moment when you found stillness amid the busyness of life, or a teaching of the Buddha that touched a deeper layer of your being. For sometimes, just one sincere sharing can help someone out there, someone also searching for peace, realize they are not alone. Like you, they only need a gentle reminder. That peace is not far away, but right here, in this very breath. And perhaps, from that very moment, the world will become a little gentler, beginning with a peaceful heart like yours.